conducted at the BEL Product Development and Innovation Center in Bangalore. I am Vish Sahasranamam, co-founder and CEO of Forge, and I'm your host for today's event. I had to undergo a leg surgery just a few days ago, and I'm therefore unable to host this event from the venue. I'm running from my home. I'm recovering quite well, and as you can see, I'm in quite good spirits, but the show must go on. I take great pride in welcoming the chief guest, Dr. Ajay Kumar, Defense Secretary, Government of India, eminent speakers as special invitees from the DPSUs and from the private industry, executives from defense private and public sector, startup founders already engaged with Idex, and prospective Idex innovators to this event that is being live broadcast to a wider audience across the country. In today's outreach event, we're going to hear from Idex innovators that are co-creating futuristic solutions in partnership with the military users, the operators, and engineers. And as with all outreach events organized by Forge, we also have the user innovator roundtables where we will give an opportunity for the innovators to meet the users, the nodal officers, and to engage with them and deeply understand their requirements and their needs so they can come up with winning proposals during the application process. With the launch of Idex Disc 6, the 6th edition of Defense India Startup Challenge, and Idex Prime challenges, where a total of 42 innovation challenges are being fielded by various agencies from the Tri-Services, the DPSUs, the CAPFs from MHA, Indian Coast Guard as well. Idex has well and truly moved into its own growth trajectory. In the next 3 months, once the winners for these 42 challenges are announced, Idex will have over 250 projects running concurrently, addressing over 150 innovation challenges. It is no overstatement, therefore, to say that Idex has quite literally opened up the Indian military to the forces of transformation powered by startup innovation and venture capital. We will now play the launch videos of Disc 6 and Idex Prime.
Innovations for Defense Excellence, Idex. Asmakam Karyani Asman Savadhi Karishyanti. Realizing the vision of Honorable Prime Minister in activating India 2.0 during the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Idex is launching the 6th edition of Defense India Startup Challenge. Disc 6 includes a total of 38 challenges from the following companies: Garden Research Shipbuilders and Engineers with 1 challenge, Goa Shipyard Limited with 1 challenge, Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited with 2 challenges, Bharat Electronics Limited with 3 challenges, BEL with 1 challenge, Bharat Dynamics Limited with 1 challenge.
We have been associated gainfully with Idex as well as DISC for the past few editions. And for this 6th, we have thrown up 3 challenges. On this occasion, I would request all innovators to participate wholeheartedly into this 6th challenge and come up with solutions so that we make the country really Atmanirbhar. Jai Hind, thank you.
The newly formed companies from OFD corporatization that are Munitions India Limited with 2 challenges, Gliders India Limited with 2 challenges, India Optel Limited with 4 challenges, Troop Comforts Limited with 2 challenges, Armored Vehicles Nigam Limited with 3 challenges, and Yantra India Limited with 2 challenges.
MIL is participating for the first time and has stated 2 problems. I hope that the efforts of Idex will bring innovative solutions to these problems. Jai Hind.
One challenge from the Indian Army, one challenge from the Indian Navy, two challenges from the Indian Air Force, and for the first time, three challenges from the Indian Coast Guard.
We have introduced three niche ideas under the Idex scheme. We fully endorse the Honorable Prime Minister's vision for Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Jai Hind.
Also, for the first time in Idex, Ministry of Home Affairs has participated with 7 challenges. These challenges span across a wide range of advanced technologies, including artificial intelligence, advanced imaging and sensor systems, big data analytics, autonomous unmanned systems, secured communications, etc. Inviting startups, MSMEs, individual innovators, research and academic professionals to apply for Disc 6. Selected applicants will get grants up to rupees 1.5 crores, along with the opportunity to co-create and co-develop the defense technologies of the future with our armed forces. Besides the grant, selected winners receive product and business acceleration support from Idex partner incubators. Access to defense facilities for QA and certification. Applications are open at idex.gov.in.
We will now have the video for Idex Prime.
To make the country self-reliant and self-sufficient in defense technologies, a progressive step was initiated. Idex, Innovations for Defense Excellence. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi in 2018 launched the Idex Program, a game changer in the defense ecosystem, with the objective of fostering innovation and incorporating cutting-edge and disruptive technologies in the armed forces in a quick time frame. In the last 3 years, 81 challenges have been hosted, 350 plus ideas have been shortlisted, and grants worth over 88 crores have been allocated to startups and MSMEs under the Idex program. In order to nurture these startups and MSMEs, 14 partner incubators have been onboarded. Defense Acquisition Council clears procurement of 14 items worth over rupees 380 crores from Idex startups, MSMEs for armed forces. To further broaden and accelerate the innovation base for Indian defense and deliver quality results in mandated timelines, Idex is launching Idex Prime. The program will offer up to 10 crore innovation grant support, along with technical and business development support from the partner incubators.
The Idex initiative has grown from strength to strength. With the launch of Idex Prime today, we will now see defining technologies being developed for our armed forces.
Challenges posed by Indian Army to develop an AI-based UGV for identifying and marking mines in a minefield. Advanced Truss Bridge.
Idex is a novel step contributing to the government's Atmanirbhar initiative and has enabled a conducive ecosystem for young innovators and startups to pursue the development of defense technologies indigenously. And launch of Idex Prime scheme with enhanced financial support will provide added impetus to innovation and indigenization.
Indian Navy challenges. Development of 11-meter all-electric workboat. Automated celestial navigation system.
The Indian Air Force is actively involved in the Idex program and is pursuing several projects under the Defense India Startup Challenge and the Open Challenge. The commencement of the new initiative of Idex Prime will give a boost to innovation and technology development to meet future challenges which are complex and fast changing.
Challenges posed by Indian Air Force. Expendable active decoys. Signals intelligence systems for hilly terrain and high altitude area. Together we can, together we will. Jai Hind.
Thank you. So that was the videos for IDEX Disk 6 and IDEX Prime challenges. There are a total of 44 challenges, 38 under the 6th edition of Disk and 6 under IDEX Prime. It is my pleasure now to welcome other eminent speakers as special invitees to this outreach event. We have Mr. S.P. Shukla, President SIDM and Chairman Mahindra Defense and Mahindra Aerospace. We have Air Vice Marshal Ashutosh Dikshit from the Indian Air Force joining us virtually. We also have Mr. Arun T. Ramchandani, Chairman FICCI Defense and Aerospace Committee, and Vice President Missiles and Armored Systems, L&T Defense. We also have Shri Sanjeev Kishore, CMD of AVNL, and we very proudly welcome our executive from our co-host for this event, BEL, Mr. M.V. Rajshekar, Director R&D. Thank you all for taking your time out to be part of this outreach event. IDEX is the brainchild of our chief guest, Dr. Ajay Kumar. A visionary that he is, he has led from the front the IDEX journey, and what greater pleasure for me than to invite Defense Secretary to deliver his presidential address. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be part of an IDEX event, something which fills you with energy, optimism, and hope. I'm reminded when we started the IDEX scheme, when the Honorable Prime Minister launched it, and in the last 4 years or so, this scheme has grown in all proportions. And let me first of all start by thanking all those who have worked for this great success of the scheme. The services, Coast Guard, the DPSUs, our IDEX partner incubators, and our startup friends in particular. Want to thank Vish Naman for his efforts. We could not have reached where we have reached but for the contributions from each one of you. But having said that, I think it's hardly time when we can sit back and bask in glory. We really have started a journey and we have a long way to go. But the new wave of innovation and energy that we see in this program really gives us the confidence that the next generation of military platforms can definitely be made in India. We are today seeing startups doing cutting-edge technology work, which not only we in India, but the world is looking to emulate. Now that we are talking about Disk 6, to me, to all the participants and potential respondents of Disk 6, the biggest challenge you have is not only the challenges which the Disk 6 offers, but actually to emulate and do better than your predecessors. Our startups from Disk 1 to Disk 5 has set up a blazing trail. They have been innovating at such furious pace that we have seen prototypes coming out in less than 12 months. We have seen people who have produced new innovations at a cost which are small fraction of what would typically be envisaged for developing this problem. And it is this challenge that you must have to do better, or you have to exceed what the high expectations that have been set up for you. For Idex, given our track record, now it's time to look at bigger things. One step which has been taken is to launch Idex Prime, wherein the support from MOD will be increased from 1.5 crores to 10 crores. But this is not all. We have today, we are today looking to scale up, and Vish talked about it, to scale up the number of problems that we do deal with in Idex. If we have had 81 challenges in about 3 years of time, in the next 1 year, we would like to scale this up to 500 challenges. And we are already working on a methodology. But what this means is that all our friends in the startup community, they need to buckle up, and also we need to expand our reach. Our incubator partners should have opportunity to expand the number of startups who are today working, and then only in reality we will have the ability to take up larger number of problems, 500 problems at a time. The second target that we have kept for ourselves is to reduce the bureaucracy which goes around Idex. Idex is not a program which is run by government. Idex is a loosely held program which is run by partners, collaborators, people who believe in this initiative. It is people like Vish and others who are Idex partners, who have been driving and who have been the soul of this program. So therefore, to keep it this way as we scale up, when you scale up, you run a huge risk of bringing in greater bureaucracy. And to be able to avoid that, we have targeted that we want to reduce the time taken from the announcement of this challenge award winners to the signing of agreement, and we have targeted 1 month for this purpose, as against 3 to 4 months that is on an average being spent today. From the time when a winner is announced to the signing of agreement, we want to reduce the time to 1 month. And as a result, you can actually go ahead and start working on the problem right from day one once you are selected as a winner for award 1. And to be able to do this, the whole process of Idex, from selection to signing of contract to evaluation, and the whole life cycle of Idex process is being converted into an electronic workflow, so that there will be no need to interface with anyone physical in this regard. The last thing which I want to say, which we are today seeing, I have received number of requests from Indian Angel Network, from other investors, inquiries about various of our Idex startup projects. I am seeing great interest in this today investment community on how Idex is moving, how defense and aerospace startups. Our recent decisions to acquire products of 14 startups has further ignited this interest. I have absolutely no, and we have also seen several of our IDEX friends actually successfully raising funding from the market. This is a trend which is extremely welcome, and I have absolutely no doubt the way the demand from the services, the way the demand from DPSUs is rising, we will start seeing our IDEX startups within the next year or so actually reaching the first unicorn of IDEX startup. Reaching unicorn is a day which is not very far off. I wish all our colleagues here, people who have promoted startup, as well as those who are actually working for the IDEX program, the very best, and let us reshape the innovation history of India. Let us rewrite the innovation history of India. Let us recreate innovation in India. All the best. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Chief Guest, Defense Secretary, for your words of enthusiasm, energy, and filling in a lot more hope. Absolutely, so I think the days of having India's first defense technology unicorn is not very far away. Those days are very near. We already have 2 or 3 soonicorns as they speak. So we will surely have unicorns very soon. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking out your time from a very busy schedule and for joining us. Your support and your guidance has been the pillar and the foundation on which we've gotten to where we are. And surely we will go to where we have to as IDEX, the program at a national scale. Thank you, sir. Now we will move on to our special invitee, the first of our lineup of eminent speakers from the industry. We have Mr. S.P. Shukla, President, SIDM and Mahindra Defense. Mr. Shukla, if you can come on screen and deliver your speech. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ajay Kumar, Defense Secretary, and the guiding force behind this entire scheme and plan. AVM Ashutosh Dikshit, VM, VSM, ACAS Plans, Indian Air Force. Shri Vivek Virmani, COO, Defense Innovation Organization. Vish, Co-founder, CEO Forge. Shri M.V. Rajashekhar, Director R&D, BEL. Colonel Sanjeev Nair, Program Director, Defense Innovation Organization. Members of the industry and the startup community. Good evening once again. It is my pleasure to speak at this August gathering. And I'll begin by thanking Forge and Defense Innovation Organization for inviting me to address this exciting seminar and also for organizing it. Just now we heard Dr. Sahab, who gave the idea behind, the philosophy behind this entire program, which I think we can successfully be called now one of the best examples of public-private partnership in innovation. There have been many public-private partnerships when we talk about infrastructure, when we talk about certain production programs, when we talk about even doing certain social service programs. There are many examples of public-private partnership in beautification of the cities, of rural areas, providing facilities. But this program stands out. It is one of the best examples of public-private partnership in the field of innovation, and that too a specific field, defense innovation. So I would like to once again thank and compliment Dr. Ajay Kumar and the entire startup community for making it so successful, and DPSUs who provided problem statements. Ultimately, you should have a problem, then only you can solve it. And I always say it's a good problem to have. Coming across to the subject itself, I was very happy to be present during the DEF Connect 2.0 event in New Delhi only last month, where the Honorable Raksha Mantri ji had announced the 6th Defense India Startup Challenge, Disc 6, with 38 problem statements as well as Idex Prime. We saw the videos just now. Disc 6 is even more unique than the previous editions because this time it is not just our tri-services and DPSUs, but also the Coast Guard, Ministry of Home Affairs, and the 7 newly formed DPSUs have contributed to the problem statements. In engineering, and many of us are engineers here, the work begins with the correct problem statement. And that is when you apply your mind and resources to find a solution to it. The Idex program is a symbol of our government's committed approach towards encouraging the design, development, and manufacturing of the items which are truly made in India. With an Indian IPR, this program celebrates the ability, the capability, and the potential that our startup ecosystem presents. Today, India has 100 startup unicorns. And in this program last month, I was talking about this subject that today we have unicorns mostly from service industry. And I'm waiting for the day when we have first unicorn from defense ecosystem. And that's what Wish also expressed his hope for. I'm sure we will see it soon. 14 of these 100 startup unicorns have achieved the unicorn status in just last 4 months. While we have not yet seen a defense unicorn, I know that we are eagerly looking forward to it. With the huge strides that have been made by the Indian defense startups in recent times, especially in the domain of new age technologies such as drones, counter drones, UGVs, 3D printing, I am certain that we shall witness a defense unicorn soon enough. And that would be a key landmark in the growth story of India's defense and aerospace sector. I'm sure that unicorn will not be perhaps needing funding from the government and will vacate the space for many others to participate. As a representative of India's truly industry body for aerospace and defense sector, I would like to commit SIDM's full support to DIO and the IDEX incubators for outreach of the IDEX and IDEX Prime scheme. We look forward to working with you in making these programs ever more successful than they already are. Thank you so much. Best wishes. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Shukla, for joining us and for once again, recognizing IDEX as being among the top public-private partnership programs, particularly in the area of innovation. Sir, my request again on behalf of all the startup founders, innovators, is that the private OEs, the private defense sector, the large companies that you represent, not just Mahindra, but also other companies that you represent in your role in SIDM, a huge potential exists for these innovators to find partnership with the manufacturing and various other commercialization capabilities that are endowed so richly in these bigger companies. I think this partnership is going to possibly be the orbit shifter that we need in the Indian defense ecosystem. So really looking forward to greater collaboration in the days to come. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you.
We now move over to our next speaker, special invitee, Air Vice Marshal Ashutosh Dikshit, VM, VSM, and ACAS plans. Sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense Secretary, sir, and all the participants, a very good afternoon to you. I am very excited to be part of this because I am seeing the progress what IDEX is making in last 1.5 years, and we have nurtured it. Indian Air Force has taken some very unique steps. Today, we are pursuing more than 20 projects, and we are engaging with more than 25 startups and some individual innovators also under DISC and open challenges. Now, Sir has already said, that we have to increase the numbers of projects and reduce the timeline. So we have already started to work out a mechanism within our headquarter how to achieve this, because it is a very challenging task. On one hand, I have to handhold the industry, and also I should get the correct answer to my problem. So I am balancing this, and Air Force is fully committed towards this. This launch of Idex Prime actually will go down in history. By increasing this amount, what we have done is, the areas of technology which were hitherto not accessible or not possible to be touched upon, especially in the case of Air Force, it is very important. Because in Air Force, the largest and the most complex systems are airborne. Now, when anything gets airborne, there is a requirement of certification and qualification, and the certification requirement is not there in any other service. We have a separate organization, and due to this certification requirement, even for a small component or a very small item, the cost goes up. So that is why we were actually professing this, and finally government has agreed to this. Now, in Idex Prime, we have launched two projects. One project is of airborne nature, and other project is a complex ELINT comment system with certain amount of autonomous and AI inbuilt. So we are eagerly waiting for the participants to come forward to give us answer to these challenges, so that we can take it to a logical conclusion. One more point which I would like to bring out is this game-changing thing of granting A1 on 14 projects. Now, it should give a feeling to industry, if you are successful and you are able to do a project successfully, you are certain that you will get an order. This was never heard of. You see, this also is a very great achievement of this government, and Defense Secretary Sir's personal involvement was there for this particular thing. So we are actually, Indian Air Force is the first one. We are already inducting certain products which have been incubated under the Idex scheme. So in the end, I just want to say that we are fully in support. We have our offices open, we have our email, we have our phones, and every day my team gets more than 100 calls, and we are answering them, and we are ready to go around the country, meet people, explain them our issues, guide you, incubate you, and also we are going to upscale this. So with this, I wish you all the best. We are looking forward to wonderful solutions to the problem, and we are ready to handhold. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Marshal Deekshit, for joining us. You're absolutely right, sir. I think Indian Air Force has some very complex, sophisticated, very advanced requirements. And our belief firmly, sir, is that our Indian innovators, engineers will measure up to that challenge. And with your organization support in helping them translate a prototype to a productizable design and to go through the certification standards and other mill grade quality assurance procedures. With all of that support, we certainly will be able to see our Indian innovators keep the Indian Air Force flag flying much higher. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your continued support, and also for taking time out to be part of this event today. Thank you. At this juncture, it is my duty to recognize the presence of other collaborators, not just for this event, but in the broader IDEX ecosystem. So starting with, of course, the host organization, BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited, We also have other partner incubators, Social Alpha, apart from Forge, that are joining hands in having organized this outreach event. But even more importantly, I have to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues and friends from the Defense Innovation Organization. So we have Mr. Vivek Virmani, Chief Operating Officer, Defense Innovation Organization. We have Colonel Sanjeev Nair, Program Director, DIO, who is joining us at the event physically, whereas Vivek is joining us from Delhi virtually. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Colonel Sanjeev, for taking your time out to be part of this event. I now move over to our next speaker, special invitee, Mr. Arun T. Ramchandani, Chairman, FICCI Defense and Aerospace Committee, and Executive Vice President, L&T Defense. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Defense Secretary, Dr. Ajay Kumar, my eminent co-panelists, leaders of the DIO, of FICCI and the broader Indian defense industry. We welcome this roundtable and interaction between the innovators and the users on the DISC 6 and Idex Prime challenges. In our opinion, the DIO and Idex is a very critical element of the defense industrial base that we intend to create in the country as part of self-reliance in defense. Without an innovation wing and without a focus on IP creation, on creation of our own designs, any defense industrial base is incomplete. The evolution of India's defense industrial base focused a lot on manufacturing in the yesteryears, but currently the shift to focus on design and innovation will hold the entire defense industrial base in great stead. We welcome this. Wish, as you said, that you look forward to the industry and more so the private industry to play a larger role in this entire process. And let me, on behalf of the industry chamber that I represent and a large industry of which I am a part of, commit to this gathering that we in the industry are very committed to support this initiative and to enable it and to really be an enabler for its success. Let me elaborate on what I mean. For this time, we see a very welcome participation of BEL, of the corporatized OFBs in putting up problems. And I would say that large system integrators within the industry would be very happy to post their problems and support and fund it or match the government funding on it to enable their problems also to go out into the innovation ecosystem. That is one. Number two, we look forward to engaging with startups and enabling them to move from their development, from conversion of their new innovative ideas into real products. And I think the journey from an innovative idea to maybe a TRL 4 or 5 prototype to a product at TRL 8 and 9 is a very long journey and calls for the participation of mature industries to hasten this process of moving up the TRL chain. And in industry, we really look forward to that. I know for sure that my company engages with startups, and one of the criteria we look at when we are associating with startups is their track record on the Idex challenges, because that kind of gives us a confirmation about the startup's capability to really build something that works on the field. And so on both these counts, I think the private private industry is more than ready to participate in the process and to add value to the process. I have a few more suggestions. The Idex Prime, which now scales up the level of investment into these programs, is very welcome because any real program requires a fair share of funding, and the 10 crores that the MOD offers really scales up the size of the development. I do hear from some of the startups that they would have challenges in matching this 10 crore investment from their side. And we have offered to many of them that we will kind of collaborate with them and support them, and maybe as part of a collaborative venture or as part of a consortium, participate in the Idex Prime with the startup leading the effort. So this is another way to kind of support this and enable the startups to get their share of the funding, as well as get industrial support to make their programs a success. I think the last suggestion that I have, that any innovation process, as Dr. Ajay Kumar said, should be as less complicated as possible, with minimum steps and stages, but probably needs the support of expert groups to review programs and to actually bring value and guidance and mentorship to the startups. It would be great if we can set up good mentor groups and expert groups that could move along with these programs, probably monitor the progress of these programs. So while the user does it, from a technological and industrial perspective, if that expertise could be brought to bear on the programs, I think that would add a lot of value. The fact that 14 programs have been granted AON really shows that the government means business, and we welcome that. So I wish all the startups the very best. I confirm the commitment of the larger industry to this entire program, and good luck. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. Thank you, sir. And in fact, it's a welcome news for all of us in the IDEX ecosystem to hear that the private industry is willing to, offer the financial support towards the matching contribution that the startups and the innovators will have to bring, both for the IDEX, Spark, as well as the IDEX Prime, grants. This really is a major shot in the arm, sir. And if the private sector, apart from the financial support, can also help in the translation of these, products from a prototype to a production-ready design, that would truly strengthen India's defense ecosystem. And we may not be very far from catching up with how Israel goes about doing things, and also in many cases how the U.S. Space and defense ecosystems spurn innovation and startups. I think we're not very far from those outcomes ourselves. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the support and the commitment, and for your presence today. Thank you. We now move over to our next speaker, special invitee, Shri Sanjeev Kishore, Chairman and Managing Director, ABNL. Over to you, sir, for your kind words. Thank you.
Respected Dr. Ajay Kumar, Defense Secretary, my co-panelist, very good evening to you all. At the outset, I would like to thank Mr. Vish, host and co-host of this outreach program, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this outreach program. In fact, it's really heartening to see IDEX platform growing from strength to strength and moving steadily towards achieving the aim of Atmanirbhar Bharat. We at Armored Vehicles Nigam Limited are fully committed to see that the efforts of Ministry of Defense succeeds in this direction. As part of this 6 where 38 challenges have been thrown open to the industry. Ordnance Factory Medak, which is a unit of Armored Vehicles Nigam Limited, has given 3 challenges to the industry. We all know that the futuristic infantry combat vehicle is the most looked and sought after project of the Armored Vehicles Nigam Limited, which we are developing in association with various industry partners, academic institutions, and we are struggling to develop some cutting-edge technology for the development of FICV. And as part of that, we have thrown 3 challenges to the industry. One is design and development of rubberized track for the BMP. Second is the improved lighting system for the BMP. And third is the automatic tension adjuster for the track. And I'm sure that with the help of this platform, the startups and the MSME, those who are here and trying to participate in these challenges will come up to the expectation and they will participate wholeheartedly to develop technologies. I wish this event all the success. We at Ordnance Factory Medak or the Armored Vehicle Nigam Limited, Chennai, fully committed to extend wholehearted our support to all the startups and the industry partners, those who are willing to participate and take this challenge forward. I wish this event a great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for outlining the challenges from AVNL. I'm sure there are engineers, there are innovators who have the skill, the competence, and the technology to be able to cater to your needs. And hopefully IDEX will be that platform that delivers innovation in the fastest time frame to you and to the organization. Thank you, sir. We now move over to our next speaker. We have Mr. M.V. Rajashekar, Director R&D from BEL, joining us representing the CMD BEL. Over to you, sir, for your few words. Thank you.
Respected Sri Ajay Kumar, DevSec, Chairman DIO, and Chief Guest of this outreach program, Sri Vish, Co-founder, CEO Forge, Sri SP Sukla, President SIDM, AVM Ashutosh Dikshit, ACS Plans, Arun T. Ramchandrani, Chairman FICCI, Deaf Aerospace Committee, Colonel Sanjeev Nair, Program Director, DIO IDEX, other officials from DDP, and CMD AVNL Sri Sanjeev Kumar, partner incubators of DIO, startups, entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all. There is a lot of talent in our country, and there is no doubt on that. We have proved it in software that we can take anything and then bring our results up. But there is a platform required for spotting this talent, encouraging that talent, financing that talent, and streamlining their activities so that the defense forces get the confidence, and there is a mindset change that is required in defense forces who want a reliable, maintainable product, and how the cutting edge and the disruptive technologies, how they can be streamlined, how they can be injected into the defense forces. This is a big challenge, and fortunately for us, visionaries like our Honorable Prime Minister, our Honorable DevSec, they have in fact taken active part, and then they have created this platform, this IDEX platform, which has done great job in finding out all these things and enabling the startups and encouraging them to come up with to solutions to the problem statements. Problems are there, problems are galore. In fact, only thing is we have to find appropriate and sustainable solutions to these problems. So BEL also on its part has given certain problems in each of these challenges. And actually, I'm very happy that this particular event is being organized from PD and IC, Product Development and Innovation Center, which is basically a platform to convert the ideas into products. So the startups, actually, our idea was when we started this PD and IC, that we have to have a collaborative R&D with the startups who are having a lot of capability, and then actually channelize that effort and ability of this startups into products. So with this intent, we have started this PD and IC. I'm very happy that this event currently is being organized from PD and IC. I thank the partner incubators and Diego also for giving us this opportunity to host this event from our PDIC. So of course, I wish that this particular IDEX, it moves from this particular level, like it has moved from IDEX to IDEX Prime. That means we are giving more from 1.5 crores to 10 crores. Government is giving an aid for the startups to develop from a simple problem to a complex problem. As the complexity of the problem grows up, definitely more and more technological help as well as the financial help is required, and hand-holding from all the DPSUs, from government, everybody is required, and I think IDEX has channelized everything through this. So from my perspective, of course, as has been pointed out, scaling of IDEX is bound to happen because the chain reaction has started. It cannot be now stopped. It goes on and an explosion will take place, and definitely we will see an explosion of startups, explosion of the great technologies that will come into our defense forces, and slowly it will definitely help our country to become Atmanirbhar. With these words, I wish that IDEX should go from strength to strength, and I thank the partner incubators for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Rajshekhar. Very nice words indeed. In fact, I think you rightly called out when you said ultimately it's about talent, and this country is abundant with talent. And if IDEX is the platform that brings the top talent of the country to work for India's defense services and and to strengthen India's military in a very self-reliant manner, then I think IDEX has already is well on its way to have achieved that vision. Thank you, sir. Thank you again. And through you, I wish to thank all of the officials from BEL that supported in organizing this event at reasonably short notice. So thank you, sir. We now move over to the next part of our event, which is a panel discussion. Basically, to bring out the voices from key IDEX stakeholders. So we have several of the IDEX innovators in different stages of engagement with the Indian military, different stages of product development, some of them in advanced trials, some of them in early stages, and also a diversity in terms of what technologies they bring to the table, what stage their own companies and startups are in. We brought together a few of those innovators, and we will go around and request each of them to share their views in maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And we also have a few other key stakeholders in the IDEX ecosystem that are joining us in this discussion. To start with, I'll first go to my dear friend Anurup Iyengar, representing Cognate Semantics. Anurup and his startup is already part of IDEX Disk 5. They are working in a consortium with multiple partners to be able to bring an advanced, very sophisticated technology to the Indian Army. So Anurup, if I can talk to you about having run Cognate for over 10 years, you moved into IDEX to look at defense in a big way. What has been the experience so far? And if you can particularly shine some light on bringing a consortium together to make this work, I think that would be a very important message for all of us in this gathering. Over to you, Anurup. Thank you.
Thank you, Ish. Thanks for the introduction. Just a one-line or two-line introduction to Cognate and what we do. We are India's ISR leaders in the startup space. We've been working on an ISR platform for the tri-services. Coming back to the first part of your question, where what is very refreshing, and I think one of the dignitaries also pointed out. I think the backing of an order upon success, I think that's very, very powerful. So it gives innovators and people who are risk takers to actually go and literally put their mouth where the food is, whatever the thing is, to go ahead and do their jobs. That I think is a very big thing that IDEX has found out. What I would also want to say is that if you could also, because end of the day it's all commerce, economics. When innovators, when they actually win a program, and maybe after a certain level of stage of maturity of the solutions, if either DIO or IDEX, if you could actually also give a letter which says that this is the potential TAM that you are getting into, right? That's very important because that's what's going to trigger the market, like somebody like an investor, the VC market, to say that, hey, you know what? See, unicorns are not born in isolation. You can't design a startup to become a unicorn. You can only put a startup into a market which is large enough where a unicorn can exist. So it's very important of the 38 or 200 odd challenges that are there. If you can actually identify what is the size of the market for each problem, that's a very good and a powerful signal to send to the investors. The second part where putting together a consortium. So we are working on a problem called situational awareness for mechanized columns, which is essentially putting the blue dots and the red dots for our T90s and T72s. And well, you can say it's an AI or an ML or whatever it is, but that's not going to work in isolation. So we are working with somebody who's giving us SDRs, software-defined radios. We're working with somebody who's giving us GNSS, which works in a EW or a battlefield environment. The first thing that gets jammed is the GPS signal. And we're also working with a very large entity like Bharat Forge, who's helping us on the integration into the vehicles because they have the necessary experience of doing these things. So I would also say that many of these challenges are very interdisciplinary. Being able to identify partners who have a spirit of collaboration, and it's a competitive collaboration. I think that's very important, and I would like to just end my introduction saying that I've been blessed to find such partners both here in Bangalore and Pune. Thank you, Vish.
Thank you, Anurup. I think your point about the target addressable market TAM is very important, very critical. And the way I would look at it is, even if some of the challenges are by themselves a very small order value, the product or the technology or the common technologies that can get created could potentially have much larger opportunities, not within only the Indian defense sector, but also through exports and also through dual use in other commercial applications as well. But your point is very valid. We have to start putting more numbers to make this much more attractive for investors to come in a very big way, and we will work on that. Excellent feedback, and we will take that. Thanks, Anurup, always on the point. Next, we have Derek Jose representing Flutura, and Derek and Flutura are already part of DISC 4, and they're working with the Indian Navy to build predictive maintenance, artificial intelligence enabled predictive maintenance capabilities for submarine assets and equipment. Derek represents Flutura, which is a global startup, one of those Indian startups that has gone truly global. And for them to find applications in defense, very important and very strategic, again, goes a long way to actually speak volumes about why IDEX is critical. So Derek, if you can talk about where the project is and your experience so far co-creating this with the Indian Navy would be very good for us to hear in this gathering. Over to you, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish, for having me. So Flutura is an industrial AI company primarily focused on outcomes in the energy and engineering sector. So prior to defense, we have been working a lot in the oil and gas space, in the refining space. And Vish approached us and said, why don't you try solving problems with the defense? And it was the first time, he was the first salesman for us. He actually brought us to this platform. And our journey has been very interesting because the way I look at it is, this is a collision of two different worlds coming together. What I call the grey hat people meeting the ponytails. Listen, the grey hat people have a lot of understanding of problem statements, essentially. I mean, they have a lot of experiential knowledge. They understand the electromechanical context in which this problem arises. And they also understand the economics of the problem, right? What is the cost of solving that problem? Whereas the ponytail guys, they're like in a digital Disneyland. They love their toys, but they don't know where to aim the problem statement. So this was for us a very interesting collision where both these worlds came together gracefully, and helped us catalyze this. And the third aspect of that for us in this journey was actually also bringing in the venture guys, because until they get a peek into this world, they will not put their money in this because it takes a long time to incubate some of these projects. unless the funding comes from venture guys who wait for at least 7 years before it ripens. So the way I look at it, it's basically Jalahali and Koramangala coming together. More such collisions happen. I think 1,000 such collisions happen in a lot of acceleration. So that was a learning. And the biggest learning for us from a startup perspective is the field tests. Because normally when we ship products for the oil and gas, the threshold is slightly low. Whereas for the defense, the ruggedness of the product is much, much higher. And I think putting a spotlight on the field test requirements and the battle tested applications was an eye-opening experience for us. Thank you, Vish.
No, thank you, Derek. I think you put it in very interesting terms. In the US, we've heard Defense Innovation Unit talk about bringing Silicon Valley and Pentagon together. You're talking about bringing Yelahanka and Jalahali together with Koramangala. That's very put. I just wanted to submit this information for the benefit of our chief guest, Defense Secretary Sir. Flutura is a truly global Indian startup. And they're working with the big oil majors in Houston, in different parts of Europe. They work with Shell and Hitachi and several top industrial majors. So we're really getting top Indian talent that works with global tech to find solutions for problems in our Indian military. That's a good step in the right direction, sir.
Absolutely, and I think data mining is something which has huge potential. So I think this is an area where we'll see a lot of work happen in the coming years. So all the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We now move on to another very interesting innovator, entrepreneur who actually has a very strong technology research, scientific research background. That is none other than Dr. Neeta Trivedi, who is the founder and CEO of Inferigence Quotient, InfoQ in short. So Dr. Neeta, if you can talk to us about this transition from being a technologist, a scientist, and to have taken up your next phase in your own professional career as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, and how Idex looks like a good platform for you to bring your own vision to reality. If you can talk a bit about that, it would be very good for us to hear about also. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Neeta.
Thanks, Vish. Really excited to be here. And so I was trying to term it as a journey from CTO to CEO, because when I started the company, it was like I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. It was always technology projects, because I come from DRDO. I had 28 years, 20 years in ADE with UAVs and LCA project. So I started off very exciting ideas, and I said probably we need to go out and then enthuse more people to this exciting technology, because all said and done, in closed door R&D, there is only so much which you can give out, and I believe that we can. So when we started, the very first cohort I went to, somebody called me and I started presenting very excitingly about ISR. That was one of my pet topics. Ground control stations, I had lots of ideas on that, etc. And they said, fine, who are the buyers? Where is the money? And that was my first reality check that we need to have some idea of the market. Then I was putting my own retirement money, by the way, into it. I didn't get any money from anywhere. So anyway, I mean, I think many of the technologists, they end up doing, they're very passionate about technology. And when they start doing this, they become entrepreneurs. What they're doing to the society at large is that they are training their next generation, hopefully the next generation. They're making many more of passionate technologists, which in an academic sector or an R&D sector will be limited. And what we need is a lot more than what we can create within DRDO, within BEL. We need many, many more such people. So yes, we start doing that work, and then the reality hits that you need money, because all these people are terribly expensive. Your retirement money is gone in 1 year or less than that. So that's where I guess IDEX is really helpful, because not just that it gets you access to market, it also gives you financial support. It connects you with all the. So I'm very familiar with the trials and some of the certification. But yes, my team would not be, and that help which will come from IDEX will certainly be very helpful. So I say that IDEX can transform CTOs to CEOs, and that's really exciting. But yes, there are challenges, especially right now, because post-pandemic time, getting hardware components is becoming like the lead times are like obscene. 36 weeks, 48 weeks, 52 weeks. So that's one place I think we are going to need help from the IDEX for the timelines, because right now I think my hardware time might be as large as 18 to 20 months just for starting from design to certification. Uh, so I think let's collectively grow. I'm very hopeful, and we'll create a market where lots of youngsters and old entrepreneurs like me will together make the gray and the gray hair and the ponytail people will experience, and the energy will combine and make it. So Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Neeta. Again, for our chief guest's benefit, sir, Dr. Neeta is, I believe, an archetype that represents a lot of potential, sir. I think she's one of the earliest movers who's come from, a career in R&D and has taken up the step towards becoming an entrepreneur. I really think there are 50, possibly 100 more such Dr. Neetas inside our DRDO that potentially IDEX can unravel as entrepreneurs, as innovators, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree, Vish. I think you take words out of my mouth. I have met several DRDO scientists who have, in their second innings, whenever that second inning starts, are doing some amazing work,
Right.
And today, a large, part of our defense ecosystem actually is also driven by some of these second innings DRDO scientists. So my best wishes to Dr. Neeta. And she also made another very important point, and which is a general challenge that everyone is facing with respect to chips and getting components, hardware. And I think we need to think of a collective strategy, because this is going to affect everything that we are doing. So we need to have a plan for this.
Absolutely. So I think we can work more closely with the private industry also, and see if their supply chains can also be tapped into. Could be one way to look at it, sir. But certainly something we will work on, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem today, and I don't know if this problem is only specific to certain kind of chips and certain kind of components, but we will have to look for alternative markets, alternative suppliers, and if any government intervention is required also, any feedback that you do, we could look at taking it up at a political level as well, because this is becoming a fairly big problem.
So we will take a cue on this one. We will gather some, data points, and then we will submit a report for your consideration, sir. Yeah, we will work on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We now move on to our next innovator. We have Neha Satak representing Astrom. Again, Astrom, Neha have been part of IDEC from the very first set of challenges thrown open under Disk 1. So she is a late stage IDEC startup in that sense. I believe they're already very close to completing trials. So Neha, if you can sort of talk about your experience, through the journey, and how IDEX and the project has possibly strengthened Astrom overall, would be very important points for us to hear from you. Over to you, Neha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vish. Thank you, everyone. I think our journey, as Vish said, started very early in Disk 1 challenge. And so we saw the ups and downs of the whole program. And then we also are a winner in Disk 3. So we could notably see the difference, from how the program started and how it was scaled so successfully, to smoothen the process, of, signing of contract and, releasing of money. So I'm really glad to see, how things are turning out in the program now. I mean, the whole milestone clearance, everything has been really streamlined. And what I really liked about IDEX, working, for us, the journey has been that we did have, unstructured conversations with a lot of, officers in, for example, Indian Army before IDEX even started. But there was no path to realizing that into a real commercial product and a real commercial engagement. And so what IDEX did for us was to actually streamline that whole process of engagement with the customer, knowing what they need, and then basically executing on those custom features that the customer wants, in this case the Indian Army, and then going till the end to deliver the product. And that's something that I think, if you give that kind of a support to any startup, they will be successful. And I think Ministry of Defense has really taken a lead in India, to show that how to handhold a startup and get them to the commercialization. So that's kind of what our journey has been. And one important thing that I would like to say is that deep tech funding, especially when it comes to deep tech hardware funding, has been a weak point, in our country for many, many years. And I think having a platform like IDEX can really help venture capitalists actually gain more confidence. So in our own case, actually, people from IDEX really took the time to talk to the investors, and we actually just closed a round last year, and they were like sort of instrumental in convincing the VCs that there is a market, and there is a market access which is given to IDEX startups. That policy which came out in I believe in 2020, it has a very big impact. And I think the VC community needs to be made aware of that policy, how the procurement will happen for IDEX startups, because if you do that, then there will be a lot more funding going to hardware startup, deep tech startup who are actually working for the IDEX challenges. So that's kind of in brief. We have been just to sort of, I guess I did not say what Astrom does, so I'm sorry about that. Let me just briefly talk about that. So Astrom is actually building high throughput data communication products. Today we import a lot of the telecom products, both in defense as well as in the commercial market, are imported in India. And we are one such company trying to bring innovation into that space, building something that is not even available elsewhere in the world, creating world class products to connect our armed forces, be it from satellites or be it through fiber from terrestrial networks. So that's kind of what we do. And we are also now each IDEX challenge that comes, actually I'm very excited to read and then see if our technology can be used for some of the problem that the defense forces are facing. And that gives, I think, I'm sure all the founders are actually doing that. So that's also a very good way of really crossbreeding technology that you have into newer sectors. So yeah, with that, thank you so much for having me here. Very glad to be an
Thanks.
winner.
No, thanks, Neha. Good to see, and once again, I think Astrom represents a very significant area of strength when it comes to Indian startups, which is advanced communications technologies and equipment. And Chief Guest, sir, for your submission, Astrom and several other innovators in IDEX when it comes to radar technologies, wireless communications, and various other communications related hardware and software related products are doing extremely well. This really is is going to give us some very good dividends in the near future, sir.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, absolutely right, Vish. And also thank Neha for two very great suggestions, which I think we must immediately put to action. One, I think this new procurement procedure that we have devised for while we talk about it, I don't know if everyone knows about it. So it would be useful if the IDEX team, can put out some, small, dissemination videos or something, so that people can start to know that there is this fast track through which they can get into procurement, and that leads to so much more confidence in. A second very important point which Neha made was, and I'm forgetting now, yeah, that is regarding, and I think you all live this life and you understand this more. But she made a very important point that innovation of one startup can actually be feeding into the new next problem. And this is something I think which we need to, I think all startups need to recognize. So when they're looking at problems, they should, as far as possible, avoid reinventing the wheel. In the sense that if one startup has done that kind of a solution, there should be some mechanism by which, collaboration between these or even in the problem statement itself, we could state that, look, this problem may actually require these things, and this were are being developed as part of another challenge. So this synergy between different problem statements is something which is a very, very important point, I think. Great insight, Neha. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely, sir. I think I've noted down these points, and we will definitely work on better disseminating the path to procurement innovations and other simplifications that have happened. We'll definitely work on that, sir. Thank you, sir. We will now move on to our next innovator from QNU Labs. QNU Labs. We have Sunil Gupta, who has very recently conducted trials, close to the northern frontier, and some very interesting technology and some very interesting, solutions that I would let him speak and explain. So Sunil, if you can talk about your trials and really, help us all in the audience understand, the big tech that you're trying to prove. Over to you, Sunil. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. Good afternoon, everyone. So QNU Lab is actually we are the company that you're using a quantum technology, and whole idea was to build a quantum shield for India. The purpose was that in a digital world, you see that how the wars are being fought today, right? The first strike is not going to be the conventional weapons, but a data war, right? People will target infrastructure, critical infrastructure, and so on. So we anticipated that, and we said the countries like India needs to have their own. It's like a iron dome that Israel has, something like that quantum dome or a shield, which protects the country and critical infrastructure from adversaries. With that objective, we started in 2016. We are IIT Madras incubated company. As we built the product in 3 years, we were one of the 3 companies in the world to have this technology. But as we started going to the users, obviously you always have a problem. But we were lucky to have some of the few early users from Army to look at us, do early trials. But I think that I still remember the meeting when I happened to meet Dr. Ajay in his office. And he asked me, actually, he pushed me saying that, hey, you must apply to IDEX, right? To really get a connect with the user. And so we did that. And we are also fortunate that we jointly did a use case with BEL, CRL. In fact, Dr. Rajshekhar was the chief scientist at that time. We built a use case actually, and we took it to Army. And then, of course, but after having built the technology, I think one of the key, I will say, unfulfilled desire with us was that we wanted to be the globally recognized company. And for that, you have to have a globally recognized tech. So we had a thought about how do we take ourselves ahead of everybody else in the world. And that is where we applied for Open Challenge to build something that nobody in the world has. We're happy to say that in a year's time, we actually built the tech. And then the idea was the proof of the pudding is when you actually test such a technology, because quantum tech is very sensitive technology. So you have to actually test it in the real field scenario, which means that in the existing infrastructure, if it doesn't work, then it's meaningless, right? So we were fortunate that Army gave us an opportunity to take us to very harsh conditions in the northeast part of India. And after 10 days of extensive field trial, the report is still awaited. We actually concluded a very successful field trial, which has put us ahead of everybody else in India, right, in the world. So today, our technology that we do, we actually have broken the distance barrier that this quantum technology has, right? So which means that now India can actually deploy at any part of the India and from any corner to any corner and get achieve the dream that we thought about achieving a quantum secure infrastructure, communication infrastructure for India, right?
Sunil, would you be able to share some numbers if that's okay? Because I mean, I know the data, but if it comes from your mouth, it will be great.
So the world best quantum key distribution is 120 kilometers, 100 to 120 kilometers, single hop between 2 points. We have done 150 kilometers, but we also built a trusted node technology. What it means that I can put these boxes in a series, and I can extend to any distance I want. The field trial site that we were given, we had done about 320 kilometers. And we could take it to 1,000 kilometers or 1,500 kilometers. That is a matter of just putting few more boxes together. So that's what we have achieved, and we got a significant good key rates for most of the army applications that we will see. The couple of points that I want to highlight this that this has really, because this quantum tech is actually, if you see, the early adopter is this tech is the defense and critical infrastructure, right? And India being Indian defense and then government critical infrastructure, even the India is probably one of the largest population using digital platforms. So we believe that this technology is going to be huge differentiation for the country as well, right? And so we are all set. And I think the best thing that any startup can get is some sort of an insurance of an order, which we think that is going to is probably around the corner. The couple of inputs that I suggestions also that I have. One, that every time we go to the army and navy and other places, obviously one question that comes up to us again and again is that who has certified this your product, right? While we have done the trials, I mean, of course, there is an agency in India that does certification of such products. But given that these are new technologies and the speed and the capabilities are required to certify and test these products, so we have already made a request to Dr. Ajay to see that how can we set up a specialist organization to accelerate certification of these products. Otherwise, defense organization will get limited, right, by the absence of this certification. So there's one request that I have. And other one is already talked by Neha. When in one of the Idex event, when we were presenting, and when Dr. Rajnath Singh was there, then we actually came across other Idex startups, and we were surprised that there were at least 3 or 4 of them who were ready to use our technology immediately, right? So there were a cross-pollination that was possible. And then a couple of other startups also came to us who were recommended by someone to come to us and use our technology in their drones, right, to make that significantly secure. So that is the second suggestion, and the third one that funding is very important for startups. While we are doing this project and we have got funded by Idex, but as a startup, we will have several other projects that will be going on for which we will need funding. And I think probably Idex has a great opportunity. The Indian defense itself has a great, I would say, great opportunity in terms of market. If there is a way for us to build a report or probably some sort of a presentation that can highlight that this quantum tech, for I'm just talking in my context, is this quantum tech, what is the potential scope for India, right? Without any commitment to it, but sort of a projections that are there, or maybe some internal analyst report like Gartner report comes out with. Is there a way for us to take some of these new technologies and come up with reports? Now, these reports can then be used by startups like us to really convince VCs to invest in us. Otherwise, what we have seen so far is that Indian VCs are very reluctant to fund defense organizations. Defense startups, largely because they believe that market size is very small, process is very slow, and whatever you show as a revenue commitment may not eventually turn out to be true. So I think these are 2 or 3 suggestions that I have. But otherwise, I think it has been a game changer for us, and I think it has made a huge difference to us, and we are far more excited and to really take it forward.
Thank you, Sunil. Very valid and very impactful suggestions, I would say. Just on the second part, there has been conversations about setting up something like a technology watchtower, for Indian defense within the IDEX scope, and that is certainly something that will find its feet very soon. But if I can just maybe request Chief Guest Sir to speak about one or two points in case he wants to come in. Over to you, sir.
Absolutely. No. I must say that hearing about the work UNU has done and what Sunil was talking about, it swells our chest with pride and happiness, and it confirms all the expectations that one had then when we started Idex. And therefore, yes, absolutely, I think Sunil made two very good points. One was with respect to certification. See, when we are doing something for which we do not have any capability in the country like quantum, I think we will have to also show the way. And when I say we, the IDEX will have to show the way how this will have to be certified. So the initial, setting up a proper certification mechanism, etc., may be a long-term effort, but till such time that long-term effort actually fructifies, I think we have here opportunity to create some kind of a certification mechanism which is on the go. And I would request, in fact, that in this case, UNU or any other similarly, totally new technology, the startup or the people who are involved with it, they themselves should suggest, benchmarking themselves with whatever else is happening in the world, because these are things which only a few people in the world are doing. So whatever is the best way, if you let us know, we would be happy to see how that we can use it and take it forward. That is first point. The second point is, building on your thought of technology watchtower, I think it's a very, very good idea. And we should actually then also build a framework where such cases, where we are really at the cutting edge of technology in the world, we should have a way by which we should take greater ownership of such cases, apart from the, so this challenge is a particular achievement and we achieve it, but how to take it well beyond that, how to have a roadmap for future development, I think it would be very useful to devote, this technology watchtower could actually work out. And I'm a great believer that if there is something which is absolutely new, innovative, there should be no dearth of funding for that work. The question is, we'll have to create a framework and a mechanism so that the basic principles of fairness and transparency are fulfilled. And once we can do that, we should be able to ensure that funding doesn't become constraint in leading edge technology. So this technology watchtower should actually act as some kind of a guidance to show that this is something new technology and needs to be supported beyond the disk or beyond the IDEX. And we could look at separate mechanisms for doing it.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, I must at this juncture mention that Mudit Narayan took specific steps in seeing how we can ingrain or embed a technology watchtower kind of capability within DIO. So certainly we will take that up, sir. I will pass up this opinion of yours to both Mr. Jaju as well as Mudit. Of course, Vivek is there in the attendance today, so we'll all work together to see if we can realize such a capability, sir. Thank you, sir, for your thoughts. We now move over to another very important stakeholder, the user. All innovations ultimately are only as successful as the degree and extent of collaboration between the innovators and the users. So the user, what we call the nodal officer, representing the nodal agency or the buyer agency within the military establishment, is a very important stakeholder for IDEX projects to become successful and to be accelerated. So we have one such nodal officer, Mr. Viswanathan, CH, AGM PDIC from BEL, who's joining us. So I request Mr. Viswanathan to share his views and his experience in having engaged with IDEX projects. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your introduction. As you said, sir, I am one of the challenge gave party from BEL. As part of DISC 5, we have floated 3 challenges. One of the challenges is the helmet mount conformal antenna, which is a unique antenna required for our defense forces. So when I started this problem statement, I was surprised whether any respondents will be there or not. So at the end of the time frame, we got around 15 respondents, and all respondents are complied with all the requirements what we have floated. So that was really gave me a pleasure for taking forward this problem. Then afterwards, when I analyzed the complete the analysis portion, there were almost 6 startups and 7 individuals, and only 2 MSMEs have come forward. So I felt this is very challenging, and then we should definitely encourage both individuals as well as startups, so that this problem can be resolved very quick time in required this thing. So we have floated this challenge somewhere in June 21 last year. And by the time we made the framework and the other requirements, it came up to something like December. So real actual respondents came in month of somewhere in January. So we started rigorously and seeing all the 15 applications. Then we found all are suitable. Then how to select 15? So that was our first challenging task. So what we have done is we made some list of requirements for each challenge, and we have made and compiled all the challenges, and we have taken. That means the talent available, as our DRD said, the talent available outside is so high, everybody is meeting the requirements. So we have put a cutoff mark. We have put a cutoff mark of 70. So 70 and above only we have selected. We got something like 9 challenges. So then we have floated all the things, and we requested all these selected challenges to make the presentations. The presentations were very effective, and subsequently we had to choose 3 challenges. 3 challenges have been chosen through innovators. Through innovators have been challenged, and when I requested them to submit the report, they submitted 3 different ways of solution. So this is clearly evident that there is a huge talent in our country, and we need to take this forward so that the things will be much better, and it will be very useful for our defense forces. So subsequently that we have already started discussion with challengers. Since there are 3 different types of solutions, we have regular interactions. We have fixed a date, something like every Saturday we interact with them continuously, taking time from our office times. And then also we encourage them to give some evaluation, design simulation models, so that we check continuously, and the problem will be resolved in the defined time. And presently, sir, all these 3 people have been submitted the reports, and they are all as per the required specifications. And I will mention the names of the the innovators also. One is Coril IoT Technologies, that is from Hyderabad, and SPG ZL Mumbai, and Meander Spectra Space Private Limited, Bangalore. These 3 have submitted the complete proposal along with the simulation results. So we were surprised, really we were surprised, and all the simulations are meeting all the specs. So the project is going very nicely, and now presently they are under prototype production. As we are discussing, again the material problem they have expressed, we are trying to help them to give the base material so that they will develop the prototype model also. So this project is going on track, and our target time is December 21. And this will, I feel it will be completed within the definite time. So this is all from me. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Viswanathan. Ultimately, the role of a nodal officer could never be overstated. And to see that you have, sort of mainstreamed this and streamlined this further
is a good indication that we will have more such successful collaborations coming out of BEL and other DPSCs also. This juncture, I'd like to move on to our next speaker. Representing the investment community, we have Jacob Pulus, Vice President, Social Alpha. And Jacob, if you can talk about, you've heard about why investments and the flow of investments into venture capital into any sector is very critical for catalyzing the growth of startups and to create unicorns. Now, I know Social Alpha has looked at defense and aerospace in a big way. You've set up a Mac 33.aero as a strategic, focus area vertical under Social Alpha. So maybe you, more than anyone, can sort of represent the VC audience and see how, and tell us how Idex is exciting and how through Idex startups are exciting. Over to you, Jacob. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Vish, for having us here and very privileged to be here. So I'll just start with a brief of a one-liner about Mac 33.aero. So Mac 33.aero was established by Social Alpha as a venture development and innovation curation platform specifically focused on aerospace, space tech, and defense tech startups. This primarily came from the need. So like all the speakers here rightly pointed out, how our policy changed and how this sector is becoming more and more attractive for private players to come in, startups to come in, and obviously that will also bring in a flurry of venture investors also to come in, right? So that was primarily our objective when we set up this separate entity, to try to see where we support startups, not only through, say, financial impetus, but through other support possible also. And we were fortunate enough to be part of the Idex Partner Incubator Program also right from the beginning. But just to bring in a couple of perspectives, as in the VC community is also kind of like looking at this sector as a sunrise sector, right? So if you look into the current Indian VC setup, you see a large number of players coming. They are looking at startups in this space. While it is still a bit too early, as in people are still figuring out what is the right way to do it, I think platforms such as Idex proves or gives them the right impetus, because getting an order, getting an access to a work order once you're able to show a successful pilot, I think it's a huge validation for the investment community to come and then support startups like these, right? And this will happen in a collaborative manner. So we have seen this in the other sectors happening, where, say, when our IT sector started booming, it was the government that provided them the impetus through setting up technology parks, providing them tax breaks, setting up special economic zones, etc. And that's happening through the Idex program now. And we are not far away from when we see a large investment community coming into the space. And we see that today, right? So, and as part of our initiatives, we are also trying to see if we can bring in a coalition of investors. So like how startups are taking a coalition-based approach to address these problem statements, we are also trying to bring in a coalition-based approach where we bring in other investors, so that there is a kind of like a risk guarantee that all of us bring together and kind of like bring towards supporting these startups. And also there was another important aspect that was mentioned on how do you look at these problem statements in the dual use of these tech, right? Because that is something that will be very interesting for the investment community, right? Because quite a lot of times what happens with deep tech solutions is they tend to move in a very project-based mode, where it is a specific use case that they're addressing. But at the same time, if you can start looking at, say, a larger dual use of this tech, or say, looking at other sectors, other commercial sectors where there is applications of this technology, that is where the investment community will start getting more excited, and where they will see that there is potential for them to support these kind of startups and these kind of solutions. So these are approaches, these will happen. It might take some time, and platforms like Idex help accelerate this entire approach. But we are very positive on this, and that's the reason why we have set up this separate platform as such. And like I mentioned, a couple of initiatives that we are trying to do. One is creating this entire investor coalition network specifically focused on aerospace, space, defense tech, etc. And we are also trying to create an open innovation platform sort, where the idea is like a few of my speakers here and the Honorable Defense Secretary also pointed out. How do we look at the existing technologies? What are the solutions the startups have already provided? And how do we kind of like create this open innovation culture so that people don't start reinventing the wheel, right? Because there is always opportunity to collaborate and co-create larger solutions for problem statements that are already there. So that's another approach that we are taking. And we hope that we are able to work collaboratively with all the stakeholders here, right? Because this ecosystem needs collaboration now, and it's not competition. So how do we, all of us together, collaboratively build this ecosystem? And like how Vish pointed out, we have unicorns now, and we are not very far from having unicorns in this sector. So we are very positive about this sector, and I'm sure my fellow venture capitalists will also be very positive about this sector. And we hope to see unicorns soon coming into this sector immediately. So thanks. That's it. That's it from my end, Vish.
Thank you. No, thanks, Jacob. Very important points. In fact, if I can sort of relate to what has been the very governing and the founding and the governing principle of IDEX is never to look at these as projects, but always the focus is on products and on companies, right? So we wanted to always make sure that at the end of these development projects, we get products, and then we have companies that become long-term suppliers to Indian military. So companies, businesses, products, ventures, that is the outcome, that is the minimum that we want to keep when it comes to IDEX. So at this juncture, it's very important for us to bring in Mr. Vivek Virmani, Chief Operating Officer of Defense Innovation Organization. And I will request Vivek to briefly sum up because there were many points that came up during this very interactive session. And thanks to Defense Secretary for having stayed throughout this discussion. Lots of points were brought out. So Vivek, if you can quickly, crisply sum it up and thank the chief guest on all our behalf, that'd be wonderful. Over to you, Vivek. Thank you.
Thank you, Vish. With your presence, the quality is as good as we can expect from you. Thank you very much to the Defense Secretary and the Chief Guest for for his presence today. We could have very meaningful discussions, and I'll have to mention there have been some points on which we have got certain directions, especially when we discuss the cases like we discussed with Neha from Astrom, with Mr. Sunil from QNU. Neha has been one of our oldest winners and oldest as in she has been there for some time, 2 years or so. And her energy had rubbed upon us also, and we also got very motivated while working with her and the other winners. Happy to state that she's one of the agencies through which the procurement will also take place. We have noted down most of the points where we have to work. Sir has already guided us as to what are our focus points, especially scaling up for 500 challenges at a time. We are already working on that. Technology watchdog, we have made a note of. One point from Neha about building a technology upon the technology that has already been developed through the IDEX win. That is also in the pipeline for some of the winners. We've already planned for that. In fact, implementation has also taken place for some of such things. One point that QNU brought out about certification, I would like to mention here. Now we are getting certain cases from the medical field also, and there have been issues where the winner is able to get certification from the Indian certification agencies, but the challenge owners are seeking certification from the European agencies like the CE certification, the FDA certification. All this goes a little beyond the scope of the winner. And no matter how much we support him, it will take something like 3 to 4, even 5 years for them to get it if everything goes okay. So we like the challenge owners to be more practical in such cases, accept the certification that we are getting from here, and we'll try to build upon them such certification and go ahead with the further certification that they want. Also, in such cases of the medical cases, we'll like to have some kind of possibility of trials with the help of the hospitals that the services have. I think they'll have to open up on such issues with us. Other points will be taken care of, and we'll come back shortly. I'd like to thank the Defense Secretary once again for his presence, and the dignitaries from the industry and from the DPSUs for their valuable points. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having spent almost 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Your presence always is very inspiring, very motivating, and all of the discussion points will surely see that all these ideas translate to results and outcomes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to all of you for a very useful session. And I think thank you for all the contributors and speakers. And thank you, Vish and Vivek and everyone else for your great work. Keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We will continue with the user innovator roundtables. So what we have done is we have grouped the nodal officers that have made their presence today into 4 groups, basically 4 roundtables, and we will have them in 4 parallel sessions, including parallel rooms as well as separate WebEx links for each of these roundtable discussions. The whole idea is to bring the innovators, the prospective applicants and innovators in direct contact with the nodal officers who represent the user agencies, the buyer agencies, so that they can better understand the problem statements, the requirements, the needs and the constraints, so that their applications can be more meaningful, more valuable. So we have the first roundtable will be Indian Air Force. We have 4 nodal officers for each of the 4 challenges notified by Indian Air Force. My colleague Ashwini will be anchoring that roundtable. And then the second roundtable is for Indian Navy. That will be anchored by my colleague Colonel Sarathi. We have 3 nodal officers for the 3 challenges. And the third roundtable will be for BEL. We have, again, my colleague Guna will be anchoring that roundtable. We have 3 nodal officers for those 3 challenges that are fielded by BEL in Disk 6 this time. And the fourth roundtable will be a combination of BEML, BDL, and GSL. And again, there are 3 nodal officers for 3 challenges. And that roundtable will be anchored by my colleague Deepak. Right. So I now request all of us to find our respective roundtables so that the innovators and the users can have discussions. And my colleagues will direct you to the respective rooms if you are there in the venue physically.